think that training camp for Philadelphia, do you think it's going to be like, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. Do you think there'd be big storylines early? You think there's going to be somebody really turning heads at training camp? Or are we going to kind of get like, oh, Hurts looks good. Oh, this player looks good. Or are you going to have like some big shocking news early on of training camp because somebody looks absolutely insane that you were not expecting to happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. It's hard to say because I love the fact that Nick Sirianni is always very positive and he's talking about the players and he's hyping them up and everything else. But sometimes it's hard to read between the lines and say, okay, like, is this legit or is this just you talking about players and being happy, excited about
Right.
them because they're on your squad? Because he said that about a lot of players and some of them make impacts and some of them don't and don't even play. And so it's just hard to say. But I lean towards um we won't hear too much in the beginning. It won't be
Okay.
over the top. Now, it wouldn't shock me if one of the names that does start to pop up very early in training camp is Quez Watkins, because I
Mm,
feel like there's some sort of campaign that they're doing here that they did kind of in OTAs, and maybe it's hey, let's go ahead and pump this guy up too. We
could be.
do believe in him, but I think there's an extra like motivational or maybe psychological thing with we need to make sure that Quez feels like we are behind him 100%. And so maybe after the first couple practices, it's, oh my gosh, yes, Quez is ready for a breakout season. He's going to be awesome. But I don't know. I mean, outside of that, I do feel like it's just going to be kind of, okay, hey, it's some good things, some bad things, nothing crazy. And then hopefully towards the latter part of it, we do start seeing some names that surprise us.
David Rhodes says he thinks there'll be a ton of hype with Georgia players plus Swift and Penny. That Swift and Penny could really,
Yeah,
really give you some hype because I think the Georgia players are a given. Like, I mean, you saw it at OTAs. Any video of Nolan Smith running in a circle was like the
right.
greatest video ever created by mankind. I mean, I got like
Which it
55,000 views
was. It
on a
was.
short. It was. It was. No, I know. I'm not saying I didn't like it. Just saying that we freaked out when he ran around that cone real fast. It was like, oh my gosh, he's the best. But
Yeah, yeah,
I think
and
we're going to see
Jalen
a lot of
Carter,
that.
obliterated a blocking slate, didn't even
That's
break
right.
it, but just
That's
the
right.
fact that,
Oh
he's
my gosh.
strong and, a lot of other NFL players use the blocking sled, but it's different whenever
We're
the Georgia
desperate.
players are
We're like,
doing it,
please,
so
dude, please, please
we
talk about the
need
Eagles.
anything,
Goodness
anything.
gracious. Oh
Yeah,
my
that's
goodness.
that's a good point though that Dave brings up for definitely Swift and Penny. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
Swift had some hype obviously with the trade, and you can loop him in there. It's weird because like he went to Georgia, but it doesn't feel like he's a part of the like recent Georgia hype,
it doesn't.
because of the
It doesn't.
players. But still, he is the Georgia player. But he got a little bit more hype because again, he's going to make some impact in the passing game, and 7-on-7s is a lot more about that than it is for someone who's going to be running the
Right.
football. So I think that that's a great point, especially with Penny. We didn't hear much at all about Rashad Penny or see any
At
pictures
all.
or anything of him anywhere really. That was a little bit alarming thing, but I'm not shocked, or I'm not just saying, okay, well, this is in danger of him being cut. But I do think that, okay, once the pads come on, we're actually able to see a little bit more from the running back position that, maybe Rashad Penny can hopefully showcase that. And then he's going to be able to just parlay that into the preseason games. I can't wait to see him run behind this O-line. Again, it may not be super, involved in the preseason. So it may not even be till the regular season, but I am very hyped up for him and his physicality for sure.
I've not been this excited for preseason football, watching actual Eagle preseason games since Carson Wentz's rookie year. That was the last time where I was like dying to watch people play in preseason, right? Because last year,
Yeah.
you have a big defensive tackle and a center for your first two picks. And it's like, okay, whatever. But the Wentz year, because he's a quarterback, and every time a rookie quarterback plays in preseason, people love to watch it, and I'm all for it. I'll love to watch Bryce Young when he gets his preseason debut and all the quarterbacks. But
Hmm.
this is the year where you're like, let's see what these rookies can do, because it feels like you're going to get some excitement and some plays, and not just the rookies, but also a guy like Rashad Penny. And I think you throw DeAndre Swift in there as well. I'm with you on that. Hold that thought here as Elfence with a $5 entry into our ticket giveaway. 2 tickets to any Eagle game you want. We'll announce the winners sometime during the preseason. I want to see Milton Williams take a big step this year heading into year 3. It feels like Milton Williams is heading into year 7, but it's only year 3, right? We talk about
Yeah.
Devontae Smith's year 3 going to be, MVP level, best receiver in the league caliber, whatever, exaggerate a little bit there. But, Milton Williams could be an impactful player this year. Javon Hargrave, you lose him, it's a big deal. But when you have people backed up behind him, that doesn't feel like a big deal. Any other year, you'd feel like losing Milton or Javon Hargrave would be a mega thing. And
Yeah.
this year it was like, whatever, because you got Carter, you have Jordan Davis here too, and now Milton Williams year 3. You have a rookie, a second-year guy, and a third-year guy all ready to fill that gap to replace one person. It feels like it's going to be less of a thing.
It does, yes, and it's definitely adds to the fact too about the rotational play. So that's the danger with this team and why they're so dynamic is the fact that there is rotational guys and next man up and everybody's staying fresh. So yeah, I'm excited to see it. And Milton Williams, he gets overlooked, no doubt. I mean, you talk about the guys with the Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox, these guys who are actually going to be or have been talked about quite a bit. But Milton Williams has seemed to kind of, float under the radar a little bit. I've seen some videos, some content, some tweets about him, but not near the hype as some of the other guys that I mentioned. So it'll be interesting to see, with a little bit more playing time. I think that he could be dominant. I think that he could be very dynamic and be able to put him in different spots. So, we'll see what he can do with that. But I know that he's ready and wanting to make an impact too. So sometimes all it takes is you get one guy like a Javon Hargrave to move away.
Sure.
Granted, you're adding Jalen Carter, but there's a little bit of a next step up that you take. And so hopefully we see that from Milton in year 3.
Dontel Dragon, 2 more entries into the ticket giveaway. Calling it right now, Hassan Reddick, Defensive Player of the Year. It does feel like
I hope so.
He has some really good odds to do it. I mean, the numbers were basically there, right? You take away a couple of sacks from who led the league last year? Was it Bosa? It was Bosa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take away 2 from Bosa, and there's a real argument there for Hassan Reddick. I think he's not underrated. He's just not talked about. We just don't talk about him when we talk about elite pass rushers. We talk about all the other
Yep.
ones that you can name in a heartbeat, the Aaron Donalds of the world and the Micah Parsons, and obviously you just talked about Nick Bosa, but people don't say Hassan Reddick when you talk to them casually. And I think this might be the year where every single time you talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, it's like how you stop Hassan Reddick because that guy ruins my life. So
Yeah.
I agree. I hope so too.
I do too. And again, to your point, and what we're making right there is like he's very impactful. And then you add it with the Sean Desai system and where he's going to get moved around, he could be even more dangerous. And then, like Hassan has said, I think multiple times on Twitter, but he's saying, hey, we're just getting started. So again, lots of players will make statements and it's like, okay, you got to back that up. But I have no reason to doubt it. I mean, what he was able to do, and this is the first time that he's going to stay with a team. The fact that he has double-digit sacks with 3 different teams, and he's not ever stayed after getting the double-digit sacks. He's moved on to a consecutive team. This is the first time with any sort of, I guess, somewhat consistency. I know he's got a different defensive coordinator, but at least he's staying with the same unit. So I'm hyped about it. I think it wouldn't shock me at all. I don't know what the odds are actually on the defensive player of the year. That may be something
I think he's like 4.
sprinkle a little action on.
He might be 4. I think like the 4th best odds. Yeah. Yeah. Because
I need to see about that.
Yeah, you got to look it up. That could be interesting. A Heaven says, what do you think of the Titans and their throwback jerseys? I know they're doing the Oiler jerseys this year, but I've not seen I just Googled it. There is no release of the Oiler jerseys yet. So I'm sure they'll be cool, but the Titans won't be. The Titans are going to stink this year. So, is what it is. Will Levis and his world famous girlfriend are going to have to save the day because it's not going to look good in Tennessee. Alfonso jumping in with 10 more.
Unless you believe in Malik Willis, but
which I believe
he's been looking better apparently. But again, do you buy into that hype? There was a tweet about it. There was a tweet about it. Yeah, they said he's got more confidence. I don't know if it was the NFL Rookie Watch or something like that. But yeah, somebody's saying he's got a little bit more confidence. Maybe he's a different player, but I don't know. That's
Boy,
all.
We talk about propaganda. Holy cow. That's coming from the Titans themselves. That is prime.
They're trying to trade him. Is what they're doing. They're like, hey, he's still good.
He looks great, guys. We promise. Oh my goodness. I wish we could keep him. We just can't. Would you like him? We would love
interested
for you to have
in the trade?
Jeez. Alfonso with 10 more entries. Do you think the Eagles can create a dynasty now or in the near future? Dynasty's a really tough word because there aren't a lot of true dynasties. The Patriots were a true dynasty. And you could make an argument the Warriors were as well. Those were your 2 true dynasties during our lifetime. And for those of you NASCAR fans, Jimmy Johnson was also a dynasty because he won a ton of championships in NASCAR. So shout out to NASCAR fans. But besides that, there hasn't been a true dynasty, right? There hasn't been a team that genuinely just rolled through everybody, consistently went to championships, not named the Golden State Warriors, and of course the New England Patriots. So I think dynasty is a word that you can't really use in this scenario. I think you can use the word great, and you can make the argument Philadelphia's been great since the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl year and then forward, the Philadelphia Eagles have been fantastic. They've been really, really good. They've made 1, 2, 3, is it 4 playoff, 5 now? In the 6 years since the Super Bowl, there was the one down year, and they had the divisional round drop from Alshon Jeffrey that could have really changed things. I truly believe they go not only to the NFC title game, but they go to the Super Bowl again, and that changes the whole course of our lives. Obviously, you make it back in terms of, the Carson Wentz injury year against the Seattle Seahawks. Then you go again this past season or 2 years ago against the Bucks, and you go again this year and make a Super Bowl. That's as close to a modern day dynasty as you can get in the NFL, consistently going to Super Bowls. Now, the Chiefs are up there as well. They're beginning to do that. I think they're basically there. But you take away
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, nobody else does this in the NFL in terms of getting to Super Bowls consistently in a 5-year span. Is there a team besides the Chiefs and Patriots during our lifetime that made it to multiple Super Bowls in under 5 years? I don't think there is. I mean, can we could look it up.
Um,
I'm trying to think of a team and help us out in the chat.
I
Let's
mean, the
see.
Steelers are one that was thrown out there, but I'd have to look up and
But
see.
but did they make it? Here, here,
Yeah, I
here, here.
mean,
Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Let's think of a team looking for teams been in multiple Super Bowls over a short span, not named Kansas City and not named what you would call it, the Patriots. Besides us, right?
I mean,
Okay,
Pittsburgh's did a decent amount.
Rams, sure. That they did it twice, won one, lost one. So that's a very good equivalent to Philadelphia. You mentioned Pittsburgh, okay. Denver for a 2-year stretch. Pittsburgh, see, 2-year stretch or a 2-season stretch, and that's it. And you see there, so there are 3 teams. Rams did it twice in a under a 5-year span. We did it twice. Denver did it twice, and then one more, Pittsburgh. So no one's gotten past that 2 in about a 5-year span. So if Philly goes past that, then we can start using bigger words than just great. But right now, I think we're in a prime era of Eagles football that could go very, very far with Jalen Hurts and go a lot further than we think. Dynasty's just tough because there's one true dynasty, New England, and no team's close to it. I mean, you got to win 6 Super Bowls in a 20-year span, and we got a lot of Super Bowls to go to get to that number.
True, yes. And I think it comes down to also the point of like, what do we actually define a dynasty as? Because the Patriots probably did a disservice to everyone else because as soon as you see that, it's okay, well, that's obviously a dynasty. But then is that
Sure.
the rubric for every other team? And if it is, then it's like, well, okay, no one's really going to come close to that. It's going to be near impossible. It's going to take a whole lot of everything. And, whether you believe in the deflate gate or everything else that went on, but still,
Sure.
there's a lot that goes into actually having
Right.
that happen. So, I think there's a lot of teams there that, yes, you could say, okay, there's a couple Super Bowls that they either made it to or that they won. You got the Giants, you've got the Seahawks, the Steelers.
Giants too.
So there's several teams, but I don't know. I don't know where I'm at in terms of like, do I say that's a dynasty or not? The thing that I do really get behind is the fact that this core group looks like it's set up for many years of success, not only looking at Jalen Hurts' contract, but that's kind of the main one you go
Right.
to, obviously, with it being a quarterback. But there's those 4 seasons before you have to do a restructuring or an extension or just figure something out cap space wise. But that gives you a whole lot of time with this group that's in play. And there's other contracts you're going to have to renegotiate. There's extensions that'll happen, but also making acquisitions and adding pieces via the draft. And next year, we know we have crazy amount of draft picks. So, I don't know if I would say, or I'm ready to just, come out and say, yes, it's a chance for a dynasty, but I think that all the makings are there to be very successful. It's like, at what point do you define it as someone
Sure.
being a dynasty? And I don't know, but I'm going to take where we're at for sure, because the hype is there. The hype is real. There's lots of talent on this team. Now it just comes to, okay, can we get back to the Super Bowl? Can we be, what is it? Like there's only 3 teams, I think, that were able to make it back to the Super Bowl after, losing in the Super Bowl the
Right.
previous year. So can we be one of those teams first? And then can we get the job done this time? So I don't know. I'm believing this team. I'm believing being led by Jalen that it can happen. But then you start talking about beyond that. I don't know. It's very hard to win in this league. It's incredibly hard to win in this league. So dynasty is like next level.
Dynasty is next level. And yeah, getting back to the Super Bowl is the litmus test. We do forget how many great quarterbacks that are out there that never made it back. I mean, Aaron Rodgers never made it back. Drew Brees never made it back. I mean, just because you have a great quarterback like we think Philadelphia has doesn't guarantee it. They have got to build rosters around him and keep it as elite as humanly possible. And like you said, the core guys that are there are signed for at least the next 3 years, right? Some will go 2, but the majority of them are 3. Alshon, AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, Josh Sweat, the offensive line minus Kelsey. Lane Johnson's there for 3 years. I mean, everybody, Vontae Smith, they're all there for the next 3 years. This is your window to try to make it back. Really, the expectation is they must go back to the Super Bowl in the next 3 years. You don't have to go back this year, although we all are expecting it and we want it. You have 3 years to make it back. Truly. And
That's true. Yeah.
minimum 5. Next 5 years, you have to go back. Next 3 years, though, or else people are going to start to get really impatient because the roster is way up here, and age and money could start to drag it down a little bit, even if you have a great quarterback. So
Yeah, you're going to
you got
lose
to go
that
back.
flexibility that you
Got to
have
go
now.
back.
There's lots of flexibility in the current
Yes,
moment, but it dwindles with each season, and
it
that window
does.
of opportunity closes. So yeah, I'm with you for sure. I'd say the 3-year window, that's definitely, and hopefully this year. Like that's what we all want. Obviously,
And it
let's
can
let's
be.
not wait.
It totally can be. Philadelphia's path. I just saw a question say the biggest threat to the Eagles in the NFC East. We talked about that and the rest of the NFC every single week we do this
Mhm.
show. It's not that great. I mean, unless Brock Purdy can throw a football and actually be healthy this year, and unless Dak Prescott finds the next level he hasn't been able to find in 8 years with the Dallas Cowboys, or the Giants and Daniel Jones, who apparently is just as good as, Jalen Hurts, according to Michael Parsons, takes that next
Especially if you
step.
make up stats too.
Yeah, well, that helps too.
And
But
some other random things.
there has to be a real threat to arise for it not to be Philadelphia. Or you could get unlucky in the playoffs like teams do all the time, and you'll lose in the divisional round and you'll kick yourself and you'll move on. So in terms of the greatest threat, though, to me, it's starting to become the New York Giants. I'm starting to buy the Giant hype a little more than I was. But the Daniel
Okay.
Jones train needs to get even better. Like the Daniel Jones leap has got to be this year, or else it's not Daniel Jones. And that whole rebuild will crumble because they'll have to get a new quarterback. So if I'm
True.
picking, it's got to be one of those.